Well, good morning, everyone. And on behalf of RedStack, I'd like to welcome you along to our Inventor 2019 What's New. We're going to run through a few of the aspects of the 2019 release. My name's John Pitcher, and it's nice to have you along today to discuss some of these elements of the Inventor system. So just a little bit about me to start off with. As I said, my name's John Pitcher. I'm an application engineer in the mechanical side of RedStack's business. I'm a certified Autodesk trainer and tech support engineer. I did my time as a fitter and turner 20 odd years ago, and been working in manufacturing, generally in a CAM or CNC type scenario. But of the last 13 years, I've been working with RedStack, particularly supporting the Inventor, AutoCAD, and some of the CAM products within the Autodesk solutions. So that's a little bit about me. With regard to today's webinar, what we hope to do today is go through and have a quick look over Autodesk's information on the 2019 update and the products that are included in the 2019 release of the Autodesk software. What I'm going to do is pick out a few of those features and do a bit of a demo on those as well, and step you through how I think they could perhaps improve your workflows and hopefully make things a little more efficient for us. I've also got a slide on the 2019.1 update. So a lot of people wait for that to come out before they switch to the new product. So that is out. So all the so some of those issues may be resolved. And finally, we'll close off with a section of question and answers. So once again, thanks for joining us, and it's good to have you along. So just a brief rundown on how the Autodesk address these new products and how we come about to getting updates. So with regard to the way Inventor behaves and the way this situation works, so Autodesk have this site which is called Inventor Ideas now. It was called the Idea Station. So now we can go to this site. Any user can go here and make a suggestion on something that they'd like to see included in the new product. And basically then that item or suggestion is put up for all users around the world to vote on. And at the end of the day, the items with the most votes end up going into or getting added to future releases and become the items that we're going to be talking about today. So so that's how that all works. So that's all available online. If you go to that site, you'll find that there's some information there on the actual current suggestions for the 2020 product. So obviously the 2019 ones have all been included now. Okay, so so moving along, certainly worth looking at that though. Do go in there and see what's up for voting for the 2020 release. Okay, well here's the list and broken down into 5 sort of sections. Some of these we're going to go into in a little bit of detail. Some of them we won't mention at all. But so there's the list of items that Autodesk have upgraded or enhanced for the 2019 version. What we've got here is a list of items within, firstly, subscription. So there's some amendments to the way Inventor behaves now with regard to the cloud. Within assemblies, we're going to talk about some of the constraint enhancements later on, tube and pipe update. There's some changes to the way Content Center behaves in that it caches a lot more information now and consequently addresses items a lot quicker. And there's some good improvements for general assembly opening times and refresh rates. So we'll certainly talk through those. In the parts scenario, again, some information on model-based definition enhancements, direct edits, Sheetmetal enhancements. I'm going to highlight 1 or 2 of those as we go through with a live demo in a while. General enhancements in parts. So again, there's a bit of a list there. There was some good enhancements in the iLogic area. So a lot of new features and add-ons going into that particular technology of iLogic. Okay, so I've picked out here the 5 that I'm going to talk about today. One from assembly environments. I'm going to talk about some of the constraint updates and also some sheet metal enhancements. So as I mentioned, there's been a couple of changes there which I'd like to highlight. And also down the bottom, under the general heading, the whole feature has had a real makeover. And I think you'll like the change that they've done that Autodesk have done to the whole dialog box. We'll certainly go through that in more detail by way of another slide and also a live demo in a short while. Another one there is the color scheme enhancements. Again, this is probably not super important to people, but I thought it might be of interest. Everybody likes to customize their workflow or their particular screen space, so that's the way we can do that. And we'll touch on some of the performance improvements as well. But like I said, if you want full details on any of these items, you can go to the help link and pull that up and see some of those areas of improvement. So let's just have a quick look at each one of these. So first up, Constraint Enhancements. For those of you that have been working with Inventor for some time, you'd recognise a slight change here and a nice little feature to the mate axes constraint. So if we're using a mate and we pick 2 axes, the dialog box changes now and we get these extra solutions for flipping the direction. So that's quite a handy one. I'll go through that in our live demo a little later on. A new feature there that's been added to the way we constrain axes. We can flip that direction over. Also in the second image there, and apologies for the size of the text, but yes, there is a new option in the insert constraint as well. So when you're placing a nut on a bolt, for instance, the little section that I've got highlighted there allows you to lock rotation. Quite a nice little feature, I think, and might be handy for anything of that sort of nature that you don't want to rotate. Previously, what users had to do was go in and obviously create a mate or angle constraint with some other planes or faces of the part to get the part to stop rotating. So now we've just got a tick box. So that should save us some time as we go through there as well. I think quite a handy little function, that one. So we'll go through that in a bit of detail. Just quickly with Sheetmetal Enhancements, we've now got an option in Sheetmetal when we create a face where we could previously only go one direction. Now we've got the option to go both sides of our face. So this will be quite handy for people who particularly use heavy gauge plate or thick steel sheet, because obviously the concept is that we can extrude or create a face in both directions from our sketch plane. The other one that they've added there, and this is only a fairly minor one, but there's an option there now for a laser weld corner relief. So where we previously had arc weld and a few other 5 or 6 options there, we've now got an option for a laser welded corner relief. So yeah, might be beneficial to those working with sheet metal. So here's my favourite of all, I think, the whole dialog. There's been a good makeover there, and for those of you that have been working in Inventor for some time, you'll notice the dialog has changed quite markedly. There's quite a few changes here, and I think the workflow is a lot better. There's a lot of benefits, and I think it's a fair bit smoother. It's more flexible in that, yeah, we can create multiple holes within the one command. But yeah, I'll certainly give you a rundown on that. So as you can see there, quite a different dialog. Looks a little bit AutoCAD-y actually with the properties palette, but anyway, yeah, so we'll certainly talk about that in a moment by way of live demo. Okay, the other one that I mentioned there was this color scheme enhancement, or the option to edit our color scheme now. So previously we had the option to choose from the 8 or 9 Inventor color schemes, which you'll all be familiar with. But now you'll see the button below there. We can go in and edit colors for instance, our projected lines or our unconstrained geometry. We can change those colors. Nice thing is as well that they get exported with the XML file if you change your application options and move to a new release, so, or a different PC, for instance. So yeah, quite handy. That was a suggestion that was put up by somebody on the Ideas site. So great that that's been included in the 2019 release. With regard to performance, and again, there is quite a, well, there's always an emphasis on performance. Everybody wants things to go faster and quicker and be more accurate. So Autodesk have done quite a good job, I think, in this area. They've added quite a number of performance improvements. So for instance, yeah, editing within assemblies is quicker, updating assemblies is quicker, pattern selection is quicker. And also when we go to the drawing environment, view creation, updates and navigation are all quicker now. They're all things that nobody wants to wait for, so it's great that Autodesk have heard that from their customers, and now there's quite a few improvements, some of them sort of in the realm of 30 and 40%. I believe that there's a reduction in rebuild time now by around 80%. So, but look, it's one of those things. It's yeah, I'm always a bit skeptical of some of those sort of percentages, but anyway, we'll see how that pans out and what sort of improvement that is. So here's a bit of a list of all the different performance improvements that have happened with the 2019 release. So threaded hole is an improvement there and should work quite a bit quicker. But there's a bit of a list anyway of the different items that you should find will work quicker within your Inventor 2019. So we won't be demonstrating a lot of these. Obviously, it's a bit hard to compare apples with apples in that sense, but certainly something that's worth having a look at. One other thing I'd just like to point out at this point is again, within the help system of Inventor, we've got some very, very valuable information that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. We frequently get calls about large assembly management, how do I better manage my assemblies, etc., etc. There's quite a good spiel here from some of the Autodesk techs about just general good workflows and best practices. So worth having a look at these guys. If you jump into the help and just do a search for large assembly performance, you'll find that yeah, there's quite a bit of valuable information that is set down here. Even some system information on recommended. You know, if you're using 10,000 parts, you should have 16 gig of RAM, etc., etc. You know, if you're using 50,000 parts, then obviously we need quite a bit more. So yeah, certainly worth a look. And like I said, the workflows there are also very beneficial. One other one that I didn't put in my list of 5, but I think is quite valuable, is the fact that when we install Inventor 2019, we're now presented with this dialog where we can migrate settings from a previous version of Inventor. Quite handy, because previously we had to go and enter all the application options values and manually input all those. Now we can just migrate those across. So I think you'll find that will be quite a welcome relief. Been in AutoCAD for a few years, but certainly now we've got the option to migrate settings from a previously installed release of Inventor. So yeah, some good options there with regard to that. So what we'll do shortly is I'll open up Inventor and we'll do a bit of a live demo on each of those items, and we'll have a bit of a drill down. But one other item I thought I'd just cover off is, as I mentioned in one of my opening slides, in Inventor, a lot of people wait for the first service pack. The good news is that is out. So Inventor 2019.1 has been released. This is quite a good thing, because obviously if there is any teething issues that haven't been picked up in development, they're obviously sorted out with Service Pack 1. But yeah, some good improvements here, particularly around the frame generator, now with options to select multiple members when we're changing and reusing, etc., etc. So quite a few beneficial options in that regard. So look, I hope that's valuable information. Like I said, what we're going to do now is switch over to Inventor, and we'll go and have a quick look and explore some of those new features. So just bear with me 2 seconds while I fire up my Inventor. So first up, let's start off with the well, easy ones first. Let's go to a sheet metal part. So I've got a little sketch here of a sheet metal, or inside a sheet metal template. As I mentioned, once we've done our sketch, we create a face. Previously in Inventor, we weren't able to go both directions. So, so when we were doing a face extrusion, we could only go this way or this way. So we could go up or down. Now we can go mid-plane. As I mentioned earlier, very valuable, I think, for people using particularly heavy gauge plate and steel. That'll make quite a difference to them. So quite a beneficial option. The other one that I did briefly mention was the laser world corner relief. So if I add a couple of flanges to a couple of these items here, you'll notice that when we do so, we get the option in here for obviously all of our bend information. Over here, we've got the corner option, and this is where we've got this laser weld function. So previously we had arc weld, linear weld, trim to bend, round, square, and tear. So for instance, if I was to do a square cutout, I would end up like this. So we'd end up with a little notched out corner. Maybe if I flip over to the flat pattern, you'll see that a little better. So you can see there we've got a square cutout in that instance. So let me just take you back there, and I'm going to edit that flange and go back in here. So for instance, the other options here are linear weld, arc weld, and laser weld. The laser weld is the new one. If we don't want any clearance in the corner, we can simply pick a tear to do this sort of thing. So it just tears the corner, if you will, as it creates the bend. But let's just quickly jump down to the laser weld option. And you'll see the difference here, especially when we go into the flat pattern. So there's a laser weld corner relief. It's got quite a different design to it, obviously, to benefit those that are using laser welding. So that's just a couple of little enhancements in the sheet metal environment. So I hope some of you will be able to find value and use in those particular options. Okay, as I said, the other option that has had quite a makeover is the whole command. So if we go into the whole command, we can pick that up, and you'll immediately notice that the whole dialog is quite different. The dialog has had quite a makeover, actually. It's quite different to what it was, but it also has quite a lot of beneficial workflows for us. So let's just quickly place a couple of M8 holes, for instance, and if I was to pick this face to place an M8 hole in, I can then go straight through and reference that off the edge, and that's all well and good. That's pretty much how we used to do that in previous versions. But the nice thing about this is I can click this little plus in the bottom right of the dialog and then select the face again, and this time pick a concentric hole. And automatically that hole is now concentric to the fillet. I can go and pick a plus again and go over and pick, maybe another face, and then dimension that in from these two edges. So very nice to be able to quickly place those holes as needed there. Okay, so yeah, I think quite a good improvement to the way the whole dialog box works. The other thing that we can do as well is save a configuration of a hole. So if you frequently do a lot of tapped holes that maybe have a countersink or something, we can quite happily go in here and change or add that particular hole configuration to like a saved library, if you like. So if I click the little plus up here, and we'll call this M8 countersink, and then pick the tick, that particular item stays now in my just pop in a random diameter here. That particular configuration will actually now save in my Inventor. And when I come to use the whole command again, I can quickly pick in the little drop down here that I want to pick that M8 countersink option. Again, I don't know that I saved didn't save the 14mm countersink diameter, but anyway. And again, we can go back and pick another face for that exact hole configuration. So yeah, quite handy to be able to save multiple iterations, if you like, of hole configurations dependent on the seat type or whatever. So much the same otherwise. We've still got left and right options. We've got the class here. Down here, these arrows and icons have changed a little bit. Yeah, we've got the option for termination here. Basically, all those other options are the same. But yeah, so I think that's quite a valuable little tool. Like I said, just click the little plus and we can place a hole in another face, pick up two reference edges and move on to another hole. So I think placing holes will be a little bit more efficient now, and hopefully will produce some valuable outputs for us. Okay, one other one that I thought we might just quickly look at, as I said, under the application options area, in here we've got under the colors tab, we've got options here now to customize our color scheme. So here's the 8 or 9 items that we have always had, or in the last few releases anyway, where we were able to change dependent on the way Inventor behaved, but now we can go in here and customize the colors. So for a particular theme, and I wouldn't be changing these ones, but I would be creating a new color scheme. And once we've done that, we can then go and edit that particular color scheme. So in here, we can basically pick in part mode, how do we want to see all of these different options there for creating, like what color do we want to use for these particular items. So yeah, I think you'll find that beneficial. Yeah, your degrees of freedom arrows are green at the present. You could simply go and click on the color and say, actually, I would like that to be red or whatever. Okay, so yeah, quite valuable. A fixed degree of freedom. Maybe we want that a different color. Just click on the color palette, and yeah, we can make that blue or whatever. Like I said before, if we export out our settings, once I'm happy with that, obviously we can go in and save that. But equally, if we were to export our application options, we can then import that, and that will include those color changes. So we'd end up with this red stack color theme here as per earlier. Okay, so that's just a quick one on the color schemes. The other one or two that I just thought we'd chat about quickly, one other little interesting one that Autodesk have added to this release is this option here. So in the fillet dialog, you'll notice now that if I pick an edge for fillet and pop a size in there of 20 mil, shall we? What I've actually got the option to do now, we've got another little drop down. This little drop down here allows me to pick a tangent fillet, a G2 smooth fillet, or in fact, a reverse fillet. So that's quite a neat little tool as well. There was a workaround for this previously, but yeah, that's just another option that we've got there for creating a reverse fillet. So yeah, quite handy to be able to quickly generate reverse fillets there. Okay, let's switch over to an assembly now, and I just want to talk about some of the constraint updates, some of the options we've got here for editing constraints, and some of the extra items there. So let's have a quick look, and again, the dialogue hasn't changed a lot here. There's a few subtle little differences, but the one that I was particularly interested in, if we mate with a mate constraint, for instance, let's pick this bolt here and this particular hole here, what we've now got the option, and you will notice that these 3 boxes pop up. So we've got an option there to flip the direction. So that's quite handy to be able to quickly flip the axes over, if you like, to the other side. So yeah, quite valuable to be able to flip that around with that new option. So those buttons just previously weren't there. We didn't have the option to flip that. But the other one that's quite valuable as well is in here in the insert constraint, which again, anybody that's been working with the Inventor for any great length of time will know that when we used to insert, for instance, a bolt and a nut, and maybe we want an engagement like so, we've got this little dialog, this little box here. So just to highlight for those that aren't familiar, if I untick that and go apply, that was the previous behavior. What that means is that when we go to rotate that, you'll find that our bolt still had a degree of freedom left on it in the rotational. Okay. Now with the new option we've got there, and again we could go and edit that constraint. So let's expand that constraint out, which I think is this one. Let's edit that constraint and tick the box this time. You'll notice we get a little glyph there with like a little padlock symbol on it, and also you'll notice the little icon here at the present. And if I pick OK to that, I get like a little padlock on here to intimate that my insert constraint is now locked up. So I don't have the option to rotate that bolt anymore. So quite a neat little command. I think that one will be quite valuable as well for anyone who's using those particular options. So yeah, they're just a couple of the items that I think are valuable within the 2019 release. I hope you agree, and I hope you find that you can get some benefit from using those new options. So look, I think that's all we really wanted to cover today. There's obviously a whole raft of updates and enhancements, guys. So do feel free to go and explore those. But certainly there, as I said, probably the key ones from my perspective. Although if you're using iLogic, you'll probably find there's quite a few options there that may suit you as well. So look, yeah, like I said, it's been good to have you along today. I hope what we've presented is of some benefit to you, and that you can hopefully find some value in some of those items. So yeah.